Okay, this is my first vlog of a new decade. I wanted to get one out before Christmas, but you know what, as Christmas approached, the mayhem, the normal standard mayhem that's associated with Christmas ensued, and it became impossible. But it also became difficult. Personally, I just found that period of time is just it's got to be like the most challenging period of time for everybody, right? But for mental health, I found it just a strain, and so maybe I should have just carved out the time, but I bottled it. I've struggled over this period. For those of you who are just tuning in now, and it's the first Men Don't Talk vlog, when did I start? End of October. It is a vlog primarily to document my process through a breakup that I found really, really difficult, that rocked my core and took me to a very dark place. Not far from here, actually, where I stood on the edge of a cliff and really gave grave consideration to ending my life. That was the journey to be here to document this, because, you know, of the male suicide rate being what it is, and the fact that men can't talk, and they don't talk when they should, and they don't talk about the things that they really need to talk about. And so I wanted, out of the shadow of this and out of the darkness of this, create something that could be of value to other people, not just people who are going through a breakup, people who are going through job loss, people who are going through life, normal life, and the strains and stresses that puts on them. It's a shame that it takes a crisis like that for people to open up, and in my case, for me to open up. But here we are. It does take a crisis sometimes for people to do the things, take the kind of action that they need to take. So that's what Men Don't Talk is about. This is my third, I think, video, and I'm recording it not at home, but up on the north coast of Scotland, which is where I was born. Well, it's not where I was born. I was born in Edinburgh, but this is where I grew up. This is where my formative years were spent, and this is there's amazing surf today, and I should be surfing, but I have been taking care of my dad, who's not very well, and had a fall before Christmas. I've been cleaning out his flat, getting shopping in and all that kind of stuff, and having meetings with social workers and all those kind of life things that need to be done. So what I wanted to talk about was the last time I started talking about relationships. I wanted to talk a bit more about relationships, and how we are in them, how we find ourselves in those relationships, and who we're being in them. Because this period of time, Christmas and New Year, affected me in such a deep, such a profound way. I struggled to cope. I really did. That's why I couldn't record a video. I didn't feel I could record a video in bits, which is what I've spent a lot of this period just in pieces. It's hard to avoid. You can intellectually try to say it's just another day, Christmas, and then New Year is just another day. But no matter how you try to say that and use semantics to make yourself feel less vulnerable to that, we are culturally conditioned to feel the weight and the significance of the 1st of January. And this was the 1st of January in a new decade, so it was even more significant. And I woke up on the 1st of January and sobbed for 3 hours. Just cried and grieved and let 15 years of life go, you know. Not that I've succeeded in letting it all go, but that's what that was about. You know, for 15 years I've woken up with my wife, the love of my life, and my kids, you know, for the last 9 years. And so I've had that blanket around me every new year. And this new year I was on my own. Even my big boys, who had gone down to see in London, they were out partying as they should be. And it gave me time on my own to just reflect and welcome a new dawn and a new decade on my own. And then come into the new year and start making changes to accommodate this new life, this new me, and this new journey that I'm on. The thing that got me through it all, I think, is almost daily I would write, look at the list that I had written about the things I was grateful for, because that is what stopped me jumping off that cliff back in September. When I think about it, it was my boys, all of them, my family, the life that I have been given. I'm grateful for. It's hard to be grateful sometimes when you're in pain and when you're suffering, but associating to that list helped. It wasn't like a cure. It didn't like, you know, I wasn't suddenly like dancing around the room, but it brought just enough of a smile, an inner smile to me, to keep me level and keep me going. Because that's the thing, isn't it? Sometimes it's just, how do you keep going? And I don't mean in the way that I talked about in the first video about, you know, that keep going is part of my winning formula. It's part of my conditioning that has led me to the end of these relationships. It's led me to the place where I have not been present to myself. I've not been present to the people in my life that I love, because I've been doing that thing of just keep going. So I don't mean, you know, make a gratitude list so that you can just keep going, but so that you can find some level, some equilibrium to get through your days and to be present. And that saved me, that list. So I really recommend that wherever you are. Whether you're experiencing the kind of stress and anxiety that I've been experiencing lately, or whether you haven't been and you've just been living your life and getting through, taking some time to be grateful for the people, for the things, for the experiences in your life, will have a massively positive effect on you. So my aim is to keep that going, even when things start to get better. I want to be able to keep checking in with that list and associating to it on a daily basis, so that it doesn't become just a tool to go to in a crisis, because it shouldn't be. You should be able to take that time, and I've also not been meditating as much as I would have liked. I am still. I would say I'm probably meditating a few times a week. You know, but that's a few times more than I was before, so I'm not giving myself a hard time for it. I'm just accepting it is what it is, and that I'll keep trying harder to do my meditation. So my resolutions for this new year, new decade, which weren't very well thought out formed, they were just quiet kind of incantations to myself, is to be kind to myself, because I've not been kind to me. I have spent my whole adult life as a parent. I was a father at 23, and then in a new relationship had boys in my 30s, and I've juggled, and I've constantly juggled, and I've tried to do the best by a lot of people, and I've not always succeeded in that. And I think now, like my therapist says, and like Sherry Hoover says in her book Unconditional Self-Acceptance, unless you have fed yourself first, you can't feed anybody else. And I've been culturally conditioned, growing up in the north coast of Scotland, that you never forget about yourself. Just plough on, plough the field, literally, and work, and take the rewards of that, but don't take time to really feed yourself. Just keep going, don't check in, try and keep the people around you happy best you can. And I've not fed myself enough, and I think that has what led my wife to feel detached in a relationship, feel like I wasn't present enough for her. In both of my long-term relationships, that was a shared feeling. So I am using this, my resolution, my silent, quiet incantation is to feed me, my soul, to feed Adam Robertson, and take some time, which I'm going to do this year, to reconnect with me and be really kind and gentle and find joy, because boy have I missed joy these last few months, and it's been difficult because of life circumstances. My wife jumped straight into a new relationship. That's been tough. It's been really difficult to deal with, and that's common, I suppose, in lots of relationship breakups. Somebody is leaving someone for someone else. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes the relationship ends and there's a period of grieving for both as they depart and they go their separate ways. But often it's one person going into a new relationship, and that's been really tough to handle, and it's had a massive strain on my well-being and my mental health to watch that person move off. And I'm not saying it's been easy for them either. I'm sure they've had their challenges, but it's been made easier by being in the throes and the excitement of a new, lustful, exciting adventure. And I have had to use every resource in my toolbox to find peace with that, and I've not succeeded at times, but on the whole, I think I've done okay. And now we are on to separation of our things in our home, and moving out and moving on and entering that new chapter with all the challenges that entails. So we will see what 2020, what these roaring 20s will bring us. But all I want to say to you people who are listening or watching this, and all of the people that have emailed and commented and sent sometimes really long messages of support and sharing your own stories with me, I'm really grateful for that, because that has helped. Sometimes they have reduced me to tears. There's been lots of tears. Wow. You sometimes wonder where they're all coming from. But thank you for them, and thanks for being part of the conversation. Share the video and let's keep the conversation going, because I do think it's a vital one, and I want it, as we go, not to be a conversation just about suffering and loss and pain and grieving, and I want it to be about all the things that make us human, love, joy, loss, heartache, aspiration, endeavour, all of that stuff that makes this human experience what it is. Another book that I've started reading, that I've finished recently, that I think is good, an audio book that was recommended to me, I've started to re-listen to again, by John O'Donoghue, The Inner Landscape. And there's two kind of lectures within it about celebrating our contradictions, it's the contradiction, that space in between what you desire and what you know might not be right or might be wrong for you. The space in between, finding the mystery and all of that. And then his other one was about suffering and the place of suffering and what suffering opens up to us and what it is and what our wounds are. Wow, look at that. I'm going to look at the surf. Isn't that just... I don't know if you can see it properly, but it's pretty epic. That helps well-being. That helps my mental health, being by the sea. So the inner landscape I recommend. What else? Been keeping up with my Buddhist chanting, not as regularly obviously, but again, not giving myself a hard time, just being grateful for that. I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to keep up with this and see if there's things that you'd like me to talk about. Let me know, because I need this to be a two-way conversation, not just a place for me to rant or spout off. So thanks again. Happy New Year to you all. Happy new decade. Let's make it one to remember. Let's make it a glorious adventure. Okay, peace and blessings to you all.